Hi friends, welcome to Creative DIY Purpose. With this week's Thrift Flips, I also have some suggestions to share with you on ways that you can overcome a creative slump. My first tip is to grab a variety of different type of items that you have on hand and do all your batch painting and prep all at once. And then start simple, try not to overthink, and grab maybe a napkin and do some simple glue or decoupage. This was a wall basket that I did in a previous video, but I didn't like the clay piece on the front. So I removed it and purchased these IOD stamps and some paisley napkins from the Christmas tree shop. And I'm going to use the ink stamp directly onto the napkin, and then we're going to glue the napkin on the front of the basket using some Mod Podge. Now, if you don't have ink stamps, don't worry. You can adhere the napkin onto a piece of cardstock and run it right through your printer, and I'll link that video on for you at the end of this one. It did take me a couple minutes to apply the Mod Podge because you want to make sure that you get down into all those little grooves that are in the wicker. Now I'm using a dry chalk brush to push the napkin in all of those little spaces. And this technique actually worked really well for me. Now, I do not care if I get wrinkles in it. I think that it adds some texture and interest to the piece. If you'd like a smoother, more even look, just apply your Mod Podge on in small sections and work your way from the middle out. I do wait until the Mod Podge is completely dry before applying a top coat. What I'm doing here is just using that brush to lightly tear the napkin away, and then I'll use a smaller brush to apply Mod Podge to tuck any piece of the leftover napkin up underneath the edge of the basket. So this is definitely a cheaper way to upcycle an item, and it only takes a few minutes. And you guys will have to let me know what you think of the result. Another simple way is to tear along the edge of the print of the napkin, lightly sand a natural plain wood surface, and add a simple pop of color in just a few minutes. Now, this wood round I did pay $5 for at the Christmas tree store because I wanted to see what it would look like. Normally I wouldn't spend that much on a piece this small, especially if I'm trying to flip it for a profit. But I thought that this might inspire me to tackle a lot of the bigger wooden cutting boards that I have in my stash. I'm applying a very thin coat of Mod Podge, and then I'll flip over the napkin. Now, it is a 1-ply napkin. I did remove that second ply. And make sure you guys keep that second ply because you can print on them or use an ink stamp. Now I'm just using that dry chalk brush with a plastic bag. And that's just to help take out any wrinkles. And I like the plastic bag, so if any Mod Podge does kind of come out from underneath the napkin, it's not getting stuck on anything. There's one small edge up at the top that just needed a little bit more glue. And here's another project that only takes about 5 minutes from start to finish. And I did apply some Mod Podge over the top of the print. So I've recently stumbled on to DIXIE BELLE products, and I am absolutely in love. And if you are looking for a DIXIE BELLE supplier, I have the perfect one for you. Gail from the HIVE will ship right to you. Her link is posted below in the description box. All right, so one of the products that I've just tried is Slick Stick. You guys know I love to paint on bottles and metal trays. And since I am now selling them in my booth, I want to make sure that the quality for my customers is top notch. Of course, there's a paintbrush hair, right? All right, so we got that out of here. So for Slick Stick, they recommend 2 coats. Applying the first coat, allowing that to dry for 2 to 3 hours, and then applying another coat and letting that dry overnight. And it applies super easy, just like paint, and you don't need very much of it at all. So after that had a chance to dry, I applied 1 coat of the cotton paint from DIXIE BELLE. And then this is an image that I put together over on Canva, printed it out on rice paper, and you just apply a thin layer of Mod Podge, and then you're going to want to seal the piece. But I did add a little bit of the antiquing wax from Waverly around the edge. Here's a tray that I did last spring using the napkin that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. I will link this video on to the end of this one if you want some springtime inspiration. All right, so another simple way to upgrade an item is by adding one of the rub-on transfers. I finally broke down and bought a set of the IOD transfers. I think that I stayed away from them for so long because of the price of them. But when I broke it down, at least the set that I purchased, there's 8 pages and usually about maybe 5 or 6 projects per page. It would depend on the size of the project. So when I broke it down that way, I thought it was really affordable for at least what I'm going to use them for. I think I purchased this little wooden plate for $1, maybe no more than $1.99 at the thrift store. I made sure it was clean and it did have a little bit of texture to it, so I wasn't worried about the transfer not sticking. And I found the transfers very easy to use and a lot of fun. And I apologize about how awful my nails look. This mama needs to just take 20 minutes this week and go get them filled. I did apply 2 coats of the DIY clear wax over the top, actually to the whole entire piece. And I love the way that this turned out. I like the natural look of it. So remember, if you don't have any transfers, you can make your own. And I will link that video on to the end of this. And sometimes being creative is just restoring a piece or leaving it natural. I did take this piece, clean it, use some light sandpaper, and clean up some of the rough spots. But sometimes you don't even need to do it. Just leave it natural or apply a sealer and the piece is beautiful all on its own. I definitely find myself leaning more towards using an ink stamp when I need a little bit of inspiration and when I feel like I'm in a creative slump. You guys have probably seen this orange bump pan before in previous videos. Well, and it needed a spring update. So here I am applying some Slick Stick. And I'm going to let that sit overnight. And then I'm going to apply my new favorite color paint, which is Sea Glass from DIXIE BELLE. Again, you can order that from Gail by clicking on her Facebook link below. This color is very similar to Apothecary from DIY. It almost has just a little bit more of a blue tint to it, which I thought was perfect for spring. Here I am dry brushing on some of the cotton color from DIXIE BELLE to kind of give it a little bit of a worn look. You guys know I love that vintage worn look, probably because I am vintage and worn out. So it's probably why I love it and can relate to it so much. So once that had a chance to dry, I used a black Sharpie marker and I ran it up on the top of just a jar lid. You guys can see it there. And I'm running it over the edges. And this is one way you can get a distressed look. So I did pick up another set of the IOD ink stamps. And this one is the French ads. You can also head over to thegraphicsfairy.com and print some of the French advertisements that they have onto freezer paper and do a reverse transfer. So I that little stamp. Now I'm going through the whole entire piece and applying 2 coats of the DIY clear wax. I will wipe it back in between each application. And this was such a fun, simple project. What do you guys think of this one? Boy, another way to get creative is to use any type of colored wax. These were some ceramic balls that I purchased from the Dollar Tree. They were $1.25 each. I painted them with the Sea Glass, and then I applied 2 coats of the DIY white wax and wiped them back. I would like to get a set and try them with some antiquing wax. I just think it helps take it to the next level, and you don't even need to paint them ahead of time. Here are some of the different varieties that DIXIE BELLE has for their gilding waxes. These were candlesticks that I redid in a video that's linked to the end of this one, and they were just plain white. I needed to take them up to the next level, and I used the copper gilding wax. I did apply it with a paintbrush, but I've seen people use just their fingertip, so I'll definitely try that next time. But I think that gave them a little bit more what they needed, and it was a super easy upgrade. Another way to get creative is to just use a dry brush of paint, or this was a little like a 6-pack crate that I purchased from the thrift store. I did think I kind of overpaid for it. I had different plans for it, but again, I'm kind of in this creative slump. Use some of the cotton from Dixie Belle and lightly dry brushing on there. I really wanted to use an ink stamp on this or transfer, but I thought, well, I'll just see if it sells the way that it is. And this, again, just a few minutes, and it's kind of therapeutic doing some dry brushing. And you can also water down any paint mixture and make a simple whitewash. Now, the other items that were prepped and ready to go, hopefully I'll get a chance to do them and show you next week. All right, so for 5 easy ways that you can print your own image transfers, click on that video on the right. And for some other spring thrifted decor makeovers, you're going to want to hit that one on the left. Friends, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found inspiration in this video. Have a super blessed week, and I'll see you soon.